What's up, everybody? Welcome back here with another episode of YGOU University. I'm Michael, and I'm followed here by my awesome co-hosts.
Alex.
Kevin.
I'm Bryce. Nice to meet y'all.
And today, we're here to teach you guys something. We're here to learn you some information on how to beat one of the top decks of the format.
According to Triff Gaming, shout out, it's the second best / fifth best deck, depending on what version you play. Now, let's get into it. Since Kevin and Michael are our students today, why don't you start by asking some questions?
What's a pendulum card?
That's a good question. I'm going to let Marasco answer for this one.
What? This is part of our new set of topics, how to beat a certain kind of deck. And this one is about pendulum. There you go.
All right, now what's a pendulum card?
All right, pendulum cards are monster cards that can also be played as spell cards. So they have 2 text boxes usually.
And you can just play them anywhere as a spell card?
No, the outside spell and trap zones are the pendulum zones, and that's where you can make your scale. So on a pendulum card, it has the scale is on like the middle of it, and if you make a scale of 2 pendulum cards, you can do a pendulum summon, which is you can summon any amount of monsters from your hand or extra deck between the 2 numbers of the scales.
With levels.
Yeah, the levels. Yeah, the levels.
What do you mean from the extra deck, Alex?
Pendulum monsters and spell cards, when they're on the field and they would go to the graveyard, instead you put them face up on top of your extra deck.
Okay, so then I pendulum summon with those ones.
Yeah.
And they still have to follow the link summoning rule, right? Where they have to be summoned to an extra monster zone.
That's correct. Any monster summoned from the extra deck has to be summoned to an extra monster zone.
Perfect. So why is this deck so good right now? Anybody?
I think it's good because it has some really powerful combos it can do going first, and it's good against, I would say, a decent amount of hand traps, and you can play through hand traps. I think, in my opinion, it's good against Ash, unless you specifically play Pendulum Call and they Ash it. But like most of your combos, like I don't think Ash hurts it that much.
The good part about
something else.
against Ash is that there's cards that can bait Ash in the
Yes.
deck already. So then you can like play Pendulum Call maybe as like your 3rd card, and it'll probably resolve.
So you're saying it's pretty resilient versus like opposing cards.
Defense.
And depending
Okay,
on
so
the
what's the
matchup-
point of the deck? Like, how do they win?
So they have a link monster called Heavy Metal Foes Electromite, and when it's link summoned, his requirements are 2 pendulum monsters. And then when he's link summoned, you put a monster from your deck in your extra deck, and then his second effect is you can blow up one of your cards to add a card from your extra deck to your hand. So you use that to sculpt your hand in a way that you can set up your scales and pendulum summon what you want to.
Okay. And then after you pendulum summon, like obviously you have all these pendulum monsters. What do you like? What, do you just link them? Or
Usually,
what?
yeah, you're trying to create a board that influences your opponent's play in a negative way. So,
Okay.
like, usual suspects, Abyss Dweller,
Vortex.
Vortex Dragon, which is
Omni-negate,
yeah,
essentially.
it can negate anything by putting a guy from your extra deck back in your deck.
And some other of the newer decks play the Phantom Knight Link stuff and Orcus even to like help extend their combos and set up like instead of summoning Vortex, they'll do one of the rank up magic plays to summon DDD Caliuga, and it says that your opponent can't use all effects on the field are negated for the turn. So if they play any spells, it's negated. If they use any monster effects on the field, it's negated. It negates everything, and it has a quick effect, Heavy Storm. So it's close to an auto win, in my opinion.
Yeah, so the 2 kinds of pendulum decks right now are pendulum decks that are trying to shut you out, making fields that are too powerful for you to handle, much like the Crusadia kind of Guard Dragon deck. But the other deck is kind of a little more grindy. Like they play stuff like Apex Avian, which is a level 7 wing beast that if your opponent plays or tries to activate an effect, you can put the avian back in your hand to negate it. And yeah, so Pendulum can abuse that because you can have the scale and you can just keep bringing out the bird every turn. So then it's like he's just discarding a card out of their hand every time.
So I
Sounds
think
good.
an interesting thing that we can talk about regarding like the Pendulum decks is that most of them are gonna play like the same like starter cards, which are like a specific set of Pendulum monsters that allow you to special summon. So like their base play is summoning Electromite, but they need 2 monsters, so they have to at least special summon one of them. So they have Chronograph Sorcerer, the Mythical Beast, Cerberus, and Jackal. They have Dark Worm, which is sent to the graveyard by Shrine, Foolish Burial, or possibly Ravine. And then there's the Abyss Bacter, which is kind of like a cyber or
Curtain Raiser.
Curtain Raiser.
Yeah, it's like that one's
There's
specifically like Photon Thrasher.
So those are like the ways that they can start their plays. So like you would play it differently defensively going against them when you're going first or second. Like if you're going second, maybe you would want to stop them from getting to an Electromite at all, because then that makes the rest of their turn a lot weaker. And then when they're going first, there's a certain spots that you can hand trap them. Like what the most popular one is Ash. I would say hitting like the Shrine or Foolish Burial is pretty good because Dark Worm is just like a +1. And I think the best place to Ash them besides Pendulum Call would be on the Cerberus.
Because then it doesn't leave their scale.
Yeah, so Cerberus is a scale 4. So they would have to, if they have a scale 1 and an 8, or if that's their other ones they play, they'd only be able to summon level 2s and 3s or 5 through 7s, 5, 6, 7. And a lot of their monsters are level 4s. So it cut them off from a lot of access to their plays when you Ash the Cerberus, which destroys itself to search for the Jackal to summon back the Cerberus. So in my opinion, I think that's one of the better ones to do.
Okay, so since they're spell cards, would like something like Twin Twisters be good?
Yeah, it's good sometimes. Again, like one of the best cards in the deck is the Pendulum Call. That says that Magician spell cards can't be destroyed, but that's the only situation where Twin Twister would be not useful.
Okay.
I think especially going first, Twin Twister is pretty decent because like they have to have the 2 scales to Pendulum summon. So if like they do Electromite and they set their scales and they have like 2 cards left in hand, you Twin Twister them. If they don't have like the perfect hand, then they lose. Like they have Electromite and that's it.
Okay. So that's something to keep in mind.
Another thing you can do is use like cards like Effect Veiler, Infinite Impermanence, and the most powerful I would say of these 3 is Ghost Ogre against Electromite, because you can stop his effect and that'll be okay, but the main problem with him is his arrows that point down are allowing you to summon two guys from your face-up extra deck. And so if you Ghost Ogre him there, you're denying them his draw effect and those zones.
And the ad from extra deck.
Yeah.
It's getting rid of that extender while also like preventing them a draw.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, there's good amount of counterplay, but like, what? Let's say they go off, like you don't have a hand trap going second.
Yeah, a very good way to fight the deck after it goes off is like when you're side decking, it's good to side deck in cards like Rossphere Mode or Lava Golem, because then you don't have to try to stop them from playing. You're already able to play in the difficult scenario they're trying to create for you.
Because they can play around like a Veiler or whatever, but they can't. If once they have their board, then you Rossphere Mode them. There isn't anything they can do about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like, it's just like a guarantee. Like they don't have anything. I think. Yeah. Rossphere Mode and Lava Golem are the best things.
Okay.
I think Lava Golem is specifically the best one because that covers both kinds of Pendulum decks. Because the other one where it plays Apex Avian, they usually aren't making the bonkers fields. They're going for something a little more tame, and that deck can play around Rossphere Mode by making sure they end up with just 2 monsters. So then Lava Golem would be able to
Lava Golem
counter
just allows
both
that
decks.
ability. Even if they have 3, you can still use Lava Golem, but if they have 2, you're not able to use Sphere Mode. Like Sphere Mode's a bit more like situational, or like requires more things to happen, like a threshold. Okay, that makes sense. So, I mean, we've gone over hand traps that are good, where to play them. Is there anything else that you guys want to add in, like that helps
think, like,
people play against it?
One of the most popular decks, or we could go over to. It's like I think definitely the most popular deck is like Salamangreat. So like,
Yeah.
if you're going first and you're playing against, if you know you're playing against Pendulum, you're going first. Like, what do you think you should do going first if you're playing Salamangreat and you have like the nuts of Salamangreat, so you could make a rank 4, or like you can search whatever trap if you wanted, like which one would be better, like and what. I guess I'll start. I think that you would want to go for if you play a Baguska, maybe Baguska.
I was about to say that one. That one seems really good
I'm
versus
not
them.
sure if
That one's good because it covers dark. Like if they
Yeah.
start with Darkworm, then Darkworm doesn't add the 0 scale, and if they get to the part where they can Pendulum Summon, it also stops harmonizing because
That card's broken.
that harmonizing magician is if it's Pendulum summoned, you can summon another magician from your deck, and that's like the reason magicians are like playable is they have such a good card like that.
So do you think Baguska is definitely better than Dweller?
Yeah, if you have the absolute nuts, you should set up Baguska Rage.
I was about to
It
say
would
Rage
be
seems like it'd be
That's
very,
what I
very
was saying.
solid
Yeah,
versus them.
because you can just wait for them to scale up.
Do you
And
think it'd be
then-
better against the scales or stopping the 2 monsters for Electromite?
I think it's goes into one of our topics before of not playing with like specific rules in mind, because you can just watch how your opponent's playing and notice that maybe his monsters are more important here. Like if they play Pendulum Call, you don't want to hit the scales, but like even just like what they add back off their Electromite, you can know like what kind of scales are in their hand probably.
And
they're
if we had
trying to-
note
'cause they-
taking,
Yeah, because then
you
they
could definitely tell.
They need like high and low scales, and a general rule is that like low scales are harder to come by than high scales. Kind of.
Okay.
That's just like
That's how the deck is.
yeah. That's
A
kind
lot
of
of
how
the-
Pendulum's been for a long time.
Because a lot of the
actually.
good monsters are higher scale.
Yeah. So like, you can just kind of watch what they're doing and then use the rage at where you think the right time to interrupt them would be, because sometimes it would be right if they're able to Pendulum Summon with the scales and they have the protection from Pendulum Call, then you can't rage the scales anyway, so you'd want to hit monsters there. But then if they don't, so, like if you saw what kind of scale they added, you could hit that one and the Electromite with your rage, and then like that kind of covers both your bases, because then they could be really lucky and still have the second scale to like counterplay it, but they would lose those extra monster zones to get back from their extra deck.
So let's say I'm playing Sky Striker. Like for me, thinking about it, like would me Widow Anchoring the Electromite probably be the best play, and then taking it? So then I negate the effect, and then I also take it, so then they don't have it. Would that be a good point in doing it, or
I think it would depend on the rest of your cards. Like if you have multiple Widow Anchors, questionable because then you cut off the rest of your plays.
Yeah.
But it's I
It
don't know.
depends on how many like hand traps you had and like negates they would be able to put up.
just kind of pay
because-
attention to what they're doing?
Yeah,
is what
yeah,
you'd say then.
yeah.
Like probably if they play 2 scales, probably don't Twin Twister them right away since they have 4 more cards in hand, most likely.
Yeah,
Kind
and
of
if they
idea.
have like 2 negates and you have multi-roll, you could like try to bait 1 negate and then activate your multi-roll, and then like that card says that they wouldn't be able to respond to your spell cards, so then you would get to play however you want after that.
Yeah, they pretty much have to negate multi-roll.
Yeah, so then
Would anti-spell fragrance be good versus Pendulum?
yes. The rule is that you cannot set a Pendulum monster face down in the Pendulum zone. So anti-spell says you're not allowed to make scales when it's face up.
Seems good.
Yeah, it's like a win button.
It's pretty good.
Win.
They
A
have
lane
one
button.
out.
What's the out?
Set
Purple Poison Magician.
Oh,
He's when he's destroyed, you can destroy a face-up card of your opponent's.
Huh.
Yeah, that card's
Interesting.
filthy. I remember playing against Kyle with Pendulum, and he was playing Herald of Perfection. I summoned the Joker to add that guy, and he was like, yeah, that's fine. And so he's got 3 cards in hand. I played Purple Poison, attack with Joker. Purple Poison says you can buff a Dark Spellcaster 1200. He had to negate that part to keep the thing alive. Activates in the extra deck. I got to discard another one, and then it destroys it from your extra deck and puts it in the graveyard, so then you can activate it again.
Oh
So literally, it's just discard 3 cards in that situation.
And you still lost. I have no idea.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It was a long time ago.
He doesn't remember that part. Just the sick -3. Okay,
So
I got a better grasp of it now. I feel like.
besides anti-spell fragrance, like what's better against Pendulum? I guess because there's the two different builds, but like is Gozen match better than Rivalry, or is Rivalry better than Gozen, or are they both on
I
par?
think Gozen's a little bit better.
Yeah, because most of the cards are spellcasters.
Not
Okay.
all of them. Like some of their like starter cards are not spellcasters.
Yeah, Darkworm's a dragon and the Curtain Raiser's a fiend. But other than
Cybers, right?
And
that, Electromite is psychic.
yeah.
Okay.
So you,
But they play
technically you can wait
a
for
spellcaster
Electromite.
rank too. They play a spellcaster link too. So
If you wait for Electromite and then you flip either of them, I think you're good because they don't play that many fire or psychic cards.
Yeah.
So it would cut them off. From
Okay.
that.
Makes sense.
So if that's what you got, I think besides that, like there can only be one. Isn't that good against them? Summon limit, like you would have to flip it on their second summon because they can play around summon limit by pendulum summoning like a bunch of cards at the
Yeah,
same time.
because it's one summon technically.
Yeah.
That's another thing to keep in mind.
Um,
Other than that, I suggest reading all of them. It takes a while, but that's what I do versus every time I play against a Pendulum player is like I have to read their card every time, every single card. And I feel bad, but then like I realize that like a lot of them have
There's
a lot
two
of
text
restrictions.
boxes.
yeah, it's too good.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I learned my lesson the hard way. I think I had like a floodgate monster on the field, and he just like scaled up. I was like, "Oh, twin twister your scale," and he's like, "All right, purple poison your floodgate," and I was like, "Wait, what do you mean purple poison?"
Oh yeah.
and
That-
I just lost that game.
That's actually a good point about maybe you should rivalry before they do Electromite because you could Electromite and then set purple poison in the scale and then use the Electromite to add a guy back and blow up the floodgate.
I think it's a pretty specific scenario.
Yeah, but that's the only card they could have in their deck to out the floodgate, and then you're giving them an activator for it by letting them get the Electromite. So
Yeah.
And you could just prevent.
it would be
them.
it would be a shutout instead of putting them in like
Do it before they link.
yeah
Okay.
that would like
So if they bring out the two, you're just like, bam. Now you got to choose if they're different. If they're the same, then now they have to make a.
yeah, and they'd still be stuck.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like. Any other questions, Michael?
Yeah. So if Pendulum's going second, they're just trying to like bring out a bunch of monsters and kill you, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. Or if they can break through, because like Vortex can bounce a card, and like some of their cards just like can fight back for the board. So sometimes I would just go like if you can reestablish control, you can go for like the negates then, and then like even if they did things and then you broke through their field, they would have less cards, so you wouldn't need as many negates to be back in the lead there. That's why Big Bird or Apex Avian is so good, is because you could just get it late game and be like, "What's up? You got? I can negate one card of yours for the rest of the duel."
Okay.
I think I'm good. I feel like I'm pretty confident now.
So
Besides the fact that I don't know what all cards do still, but that just takes reading them.
so the best three hand traps, it was Ghost Ogre, Ash, and Valor.
I don't think Ash is necessarily that good.
I'd say Ash is like the least impactful of them,
So would it be
unless you're ashing Cerberus, because
Would-
then they have
Yeah.
to go way out of their way to play.
so is it like safer to say like Valor, Ogre, Droll, and Lockbird?
I wouldn't say Droll's very good either.
Yeah,
But don't you do like a lot of searching and drawing?
They do. They play the Pendulum Call and the
Dark
Pot
War
of
Mad.
Desires. They play both those. So that's like those would be the only two cards that are like, and Cerberus. Those are
Okay.
the three cards that would
Mm.
you could draw after. And if the first two I said resolve, you're probably gonna get messed up because they just have
Yeah.
so many cards.
It's
So
also
Ash is-
Electromite
It's
draw,
probably
too.
Ghost Ogre then Ash. 1 and 2.
I still think that like Valor and Impermanence on Electromite is really important.
I forget that counts
True.
as a hand trap.
Oh, yeah.
Play it
Permanence?
from the hand and it's a trap.
Yeah, and it's like
Yeah.
kind of better than the other hand traps because you can't call it because
Yeah.
it's not discard as cost. You like play it into the spell trap zone.
Fun fact about Pendulum decks: they don't play Called by the Grave.
Yeah, because you need pretty much
Five
you need
cards.
your all 5 cards to be like half green.
Oh.
Or at least you can have some full greens in there.
I guess my last question is like their side deck, is it more geared towards like side decking against the side deck, or is it
Yeah,
just
like to
niche?
re-raise their ceiling usually. So like they're trying to counter what you would side into, like
Stop them.
lower your power level.
Mostly, I
Kinda.
think it's just going second cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're fine going first.
Yeah, because that's their goal is to go first.
Like sphere modes, Denka.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do the lava golem, because you lava golem them and then put in attack mode, and then you can either, there's a rank 4 that like does like the Boral sword thing where it absorbs their attack points, and then
Or you
there's-
just Boral sword it.
yeah, and then there's Boral sword, and then there's also Vortex can bounce an attack position monster, so you can, if you've got the nuts, you can
Oh my
combo,
gosh.
get rid of 2 things, put the lava golem back in your hand, and be like, and get rid of those too as well.
Just do it again.
Yeah.
Go
Alright.
again.
That's how I won my Winamat with Pendulum. Well, not with Lava Golem Vortex, but just like sphere mode their thing and then kill them.
Yeah.
Because like they did like a cool going first turn, and I was like,
Here's
wow.
like cool monsters, dude. Here's another cool
Yeah, he
one.
did like some sweet Orcus combo, and I was like, oh. But he like actually played the Orcus traps and stuff. Anyways, but then I just was like, sphere mode.
And the
then-
famous words by our editor, Tam. You're a cool guy, and I feel like you should deserve a cool monster.
I hated hearing those words.
Because you knew.
Um,
Data
knew what was
response
coming.
chain mask and restrict.
What?
Yeah, no, I don't. I feel educated. I feel very educated.
Yes,
right
thank
now,
you so much.
Actually,
Is there
because
any
I
I
feel
feel like I'm going to
intim-
truck Doug up now.
because I feel like intimidated by that deck, because like they're just doing so much, and
Yeah.
like
And then-
you feel like if you stop them somewhere, it's like, oh, you didn't even do anything. Like,
Yeah, and it's like, again, it's like that resilience in the cards itself, and then like also if you like pick up a pendulum card, it's like there's 2 text boxes, so you're like you're almost like
Yeah.
not even sure which part you're
You're
supposed to
already
focus
shook.
on. Like if you don't know the deck, then you're not like even knowing why this card's in their deck pretty much. But
If you're playing Salamangreat and you're going first, and they do like the normal stuff, and you got like Rage, so they have like Electromite, and then they Pendulum summon, they get like Harmonizing 2 7s, and then like another 4 and something else, and you just like Rage, blow up the Harmonizing and a 7. Like I feel like they're kind of just fucked.
they might be. There's
That's like a safe way to deal with it. I
Yeah,
feel like.
one way you can extend from that is like the Reaper-Docus into Summon Sorcerer, but that, again, that's making them only make 1 negate instead of...
And you still have like some like wolf.
And they already have to like see the future and put that stuff in their extra deck.
They're like, I know this guy's going to rage after I'm going
Yeah.
off.
If they Pendulum for 5, your Sunlight Wolf's like, yep, I'm getting something.
Mm-hmm.
Get my Ash
Guaranteed.
back.
Yeah. I don't know. Just like something to think about. It's like you don't always have to stop them at the Electromite. Like if you look through like the possibilities, there might just be like a guaranteed way to stop them from doing their combo. I think like hitting the Harmonizing the 7 would be close to that.
And like kind of body language wise, you can like tell how good someone's hand is by like just like their physicality. Like, I don't know.
Or the confidence in how fast they play.
Yeah.
I feel like that's always one thing. If someone starts going really fast, I'm like, oh, like they've done this combo like 20 times. They like for Gemini combo, like the Brilliant Fusion combo, you know by heart because like it's the main one. But like the awkward ones where you gotta like make Curious and then like go like down a different way, it takes a little bit of thought. So you're just sitting there like,
Yeah, and then the opponent's watching you be like, well, he's doing something he's not used to right now. Like even like they could be like, I activate Electromite 1 game, like the first game, and then the second game they're like, effects, and like you could just notice that difference and be like, okay, well I can use this ogre on this because it's probably the most powerful thing it's gonna do this turn.
Yeah.
Because,
I
you know.
agree. Like that's how I gauge it. Like for the super combo decks, if they start like slowing down a lot comparatively to how they played the other games, then I'm like, either they're like hoping for something to happen, or their hand is really bad and they're trying to play around like a bad hand and trying to make something work. So then if I interrupt them again, like now it's putting more cogs in the like I'm putting more wrenches in like their machine, and so then it like even messes them up even further because they're already trying to do this combo. Now they got to deal with this interruption. That's how I always viewed it.
I think if they're playing like specifically Phantom Knights or Orcus, and you know that, I would just save your Ash or Valor
for Rusty
or Mermaid.
So you're gonna get rank upped.
Yeah, like they can do all their stuff, and they put a bunch of commitment into that Rusty, and then if you just Ash or Valor and permanence it, like they can't set up. They might be able to have like a Savage Dragon, so like they'll have one negate.
In the Rusty combos, you use Absolute plus a guy to make Underclock Taker, and then that brings out Vortex. Then so you might not have the luxury of being able to use your Ash at that point because they can just Vortex it.
Unless they're doing the rank up combo, in which case they would
in the
Vortex.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, there's a lot of ways to stop them and a lot of ways to not stop them.
That's Yu-Gi-Oh, baby.
Yeah. I don't think there's any more questions from us. Any final advice against the deck?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, I hope you guys learned as much as we did, because, like I was saying earlier, I feel very educated.
Yes, me too. I feel like I'm gonna mess dug up now.
He ain't gonna play that anymore. He messaged me asking if he could buy my Gem Knight deck. Swear to God.
He's truly becoming Bryce.
Oh my gosh.
Well, with that, I think class is out. So, stay classy.